everyone, I'm DestroyerMariko, and today I'm going to be reviewing what I'm calling a steampunk gothic Lolita outfit. I'll put up an image of the basic look that we're going for, but I'm changing all the white items to be black, which is much more my style. Now, before we get into it, I do have to let you know that everything was sent to me as a gift, but I'll always give you my honest opinion in every review. Okay, so here's the first item for today. It's the Lolita Dark Princess top. Now, this is the only one out of today's items that doesn't also come in a white version. You can drop down for the sizing here. I'm doing extra small to small. And if we have a look at the description, so the ladies Lolita Dark Princess top is made from random knitting fabric with clear color and thin black knitting fabric, slim fit design, top front dark flower embroidered look, top back solid black, a small stand-up collar with lace trim ruffle and back of collar black button, front collar with heart shape, open segment with gorgeous metal rosette, lace trim down center front from collar to hemline, lace trim from collar to sleeve either side, front and back, short sleeves with edging lacing, back with solid black look and teardrop hollow out opening with 2 carved buttons for ease of putting on and taking off, 3 sizes available. Let's have a quick look at the pictures so you get the overall vibe. And see, there's the opening on the back. And this is very similar to what we're going to be doing today, except in black. Here's just the shirt, so without the skirt in the way. You can see that pattern on the front. And here's how it looks on the side. And then, yeah, the mostly plain back there. And some close-ups, you can see the little heart-shaped thing on the front there a bit better. And the way that the sleeves are, and a close-up of the back opening. And yeah, it looks like a cute little black rose there, so that's adorable. And got some more details, and that would be the back section, again in detail. And yeah, the suggestion for an outfit there. And here is the size chart, which I found very accurate. Alright, so moving on to the next one. So this is the Lolita Taboo Cage Skirt in black, and it also comes in white, which I'll show you in a moment. Now this one, similar thing, I'm going to be doing extra small to small size. And if we read the description, so ladies Lolita Taboo Cage Skirt black is made using large coarse mesh fabric spliced with lace, mesh, cloth and fine mesh. Elasticized waistband with decorative buckle design through restoring ancient processing ways. 2 contrasting lace flounces makes the skirt look voluminous. Metal corns and chain link loops on front and rear. Chain is detachable via lobster clasp. Skirt is semi-see-through and can be matched with small shorts. 3 sizes available, colors black or white. And so if you have a look, yeah, so there's some cool detail here, which is what's got me interested. Like, it's Lolita, but it's very different to what I've normally seen out there. So yeah, very interesting. And this is just the skirt on its own, and I really like those straps coming down the front. And yeah, the chains, the little mini chains up the top, I think that's a really interesting thing to add. So yeah, it kind of has like a Lolita punk crossover feeling, so that's very me. There's that clasp on the front. It kind of makes me think of those things, the foamies that you put in Cyberlocks as well, those straps coming down. Close up of the little chains and the mesh, the patterning in the fabric. And yeah, so once again the size chart, and let's have a quick look at the white version. So this is what it looks like in white, and it'll be pretty much the same if we just do a quick look through. Yeah, but white's not so much my style, although that contrast with the chains, you do get to see them a bit more. So yeah, but you know, it depends on what kind of outfit you're going for, whether you want that contrast. Yeah, okay, moving on. So, we've also got some gloves today. These are the Queen Lace Vintage gloves. Now, they're only one size. If you drop down here, you can see there's the white version, and that ships from China, whereas the black version ships from Australia at present. So, our women's Queen Lace Vintage gloves are made from gorgeous lace fabric. Luxury star pendant on wrist with adjustable ring. The star is detachable, so you can wear the gloves without the star decoration. Left and right hand pendants mirror each other. Adjustable ribbon on reverse side. One size fits all, colors black or white. Okay, so let's go for a close-up, and you can see the basic details there. So it's kind of cool, there's an asymmetrical vibe there, so you're not wearing exactly the same thing on both hands. And yeah, the star pendant there on the ring. And yeah, it's pretty cool the way that works there. And the poses. This is actually really cool. And we are doing that black version of the skirt, and you can see how she's wearing another skirt underneath, or maybe that's part of the dress. I think it's really cute. Yeah, so here's that. Okay, here we go with the close-ups. So yeah, you got some more detail on the little decorations there. There's quite a lot going on with these. Some lacing. There's that ring that you can take off if you don't want to wear it. And yeah, and then if we keep going, once we've gone past all that, we get the white version, which is very different. And yeah, cute. Less of that gothic look, maybe more of a traditional Lolita kind of style. So that's also available. A lot of the same details, as you can see. Alright, so if we move on to our last item, we've got the Steampunk Necktie neckline in black. And yeah, once again, this one is one size fits all, and this one's also shipping from Australia, unlike the first two items. So the ladies' steampunk black neckline is made from thin black shirt material with black stitching, mesh flower lace, and retro pattern brown PU leather. Fitted version, back center adjustable press button buckle, front with layered ruffled edges and small pleated frill. Neckline has a sophisticated retro-inspired metal buckle and high-grade metal rivets. Decoration colors black or white, one size fits all. So let's get a closer look. So this is probably the most steampunk out of the items we're looking at today. I think like mainly because of the style, but also the brown color, that sort of, you know, classic steampunk look. And you can see how that goes around. So that frill goes all the way around the back, and this is how it's worn over everything else. And yeah, I'm wondering if this fabric, like it said black, but I'm wondering if that means that it's got a slight brown. We'll have a closer look at that. You can see the way that it's layered, and the cute little buckle. And we've got, oh, I love the punk rave buttons. And yeah, so that's the sort of outfit. And there's a size chart, but it's one size fits all. So you can see how the F size is just highlighted there. So we have a quick look at the white version. Here we go. So we got some similar kinds of things going on. But yeah, you can see it's this sort of cream white color. So yeah, some contrast if maybe you don't want to wear black on black, or if you want to do an all-white kind of thing with that still brown steampunk look. Here's an example, which, yeah, very classic steampunk. And so, yeah, pretty much the same sort of thing. And those are our items for today. Next up, let's talk about shipping. And so today I've got two different packages, and that's because some of my items came from China and some of them came from Australia. Now you'll notice the China one is quite a lot bigger, and that's because I've got some extra items for some future reviews in there. But yeah, so let's talk about the different packages. So first up, let's talk about the China one. Now this was sent by DHL, which is like an express courier. And they were actually really fast, even though it's a pandemic and there's been so many delays. So I was really impressed. It took about 5 days to get to me, and it arrived on a Sunday, and they did the whole contactless. They sent me a text message and I could say, yes, I want contactless and where to put it. And they even sent me a photo of where they left it. So yeah, it was really good. I was really impressed with this. Now the Australian one was sent by Australia Post, and it was sent express, but because of pandemic delays, it took about the same amount of time, about 5 days to arrive, which, you know, given the situation is pretty good because I've had to wait a little while for some of my other packages to come through. Obviously in regular times it would be a lot faster. Usually you'd get one of these in 1 or 2 days, so hopefully once things calm down it'll be back up to speed. Obviously not Punk Rave Australia's fault, that's just the system at the moment. So yeah, overall I'm really impressed with the shipping. It was really fast, and yeah, that's even with the current lockdown that we have in Sydney. Alright, time to open things up, and we'll start with the China package. Oh my gosh, things are always so well wrapped, it's so hard to get them open. So inside the main package, there are 2 different ones. This is for a future review, and then this probably has the rest in it. And I haven't had one of these before. It's a bubble mailer, and it has the Punk Rave logo on it. But it also has these cute little messages all around, which I haven't seen before, so we'll read them out. So on the front, we've got this one that has Chinese and English. It says, "Not depressed, never slavish, be brave to be yourself." And then on the back, there's some more cute messages, which are about delivery. So it says, "Dear delivery man, thanks for your hard work. This friend is very important. Please serve him or her with a warm smile. Punk Rave made in China." I think it's really cute that they're thanking the delivery people, because like in this pandemic, they're the ones who've had to, you know, keep things moving around for us. So yeah, I really appreciate that they put that message on there. Okay, so let's open up the bubble mailer. So we've got another 4 things in here, and only 2 of them I'm looking for today's review, so give me a moment to sort that out. Got him! Next up, let's open the Australian package. So inside there's a white satchel, and they actually put vid1 on it so that I would know which review this belongs to. Okay, so I think I'll open them in the same order that we looked at the website. So we'll start with the top. Oh wow, it's so soft. Watch out for your silica packets and all that. Oh my god, so straight away I'm really impressed by the fabric. So yeah, I really love Punk Rave Australia's items. Like, the fabrics are really nice, and I'm someone who's picky about fabric. That's one of the things that made it so hard for me to shop when I was little. But yeah, when I'm feeling it, like, there's nothing scratchy about it. It feels really good, and that's the first thing that I noticed when I put my hand in the bag there. Now, as you can see, the front is a little bit see-through, and it has a little bit of a stretch. The back is more opaque, which we saw on the website, and that has a fair bit more stretch in it. Now, as for the lacy details, they're also nice and soft, and that's something that I've worried about with other things before, is sometimes they don't use nice lace, but here it's actually good. It's not going to annoy your skin. It's slightly different on the sleeves as opposed to the collar. So you can see the collar has this thicker bit here before it goes into the lace, whereas the sleeves have a different sort of a trim. I'm not sure how easy it is to see there, but there's like this little trim thing here before it transitions into the lace from the main fabric. Here's that heart shape that's on the front, and like, in real life it looks a lot more like a heart shape than the angle they took the model's photo at. So yeah, it's really cute. I'm not really a heart kind of person, but they've done it really nicely. So if you are into heart shapes, like, yeah, look at that. Look how cute that is. And next to that heart shape, can you sort of see that embroidered pattern? It's very faint. I don't know how well anyone's going to see that in real life, but it is this cute little extra detail that they're always adding to things. And you can see on the inside, that's where the embroidery comes through. But what's really nice is, like, they've cleaned it up in a way that it doesn't leave any like scratchy edges. So yeah, I'm impressed with like how they've gone about trying to make sure that any details they add do become comfortable. And then yeah, underneath that you can see how all the little lace bits come down from that main lace bit. So there's lace at the top and the bottom of that collar edging, and then the different strokes going down the front. And then up the back you can see it comes apart to give you quite a lot of space to fit your head through, so that's really good. Because that collar is not really stretchy, so yeah, you do need that extra space, I think, to get your head in there. And yeah, all these little buttons, they're the same rose style that was just above the little heart shape. I'm sorry the lighting isn't that great. Filming in lockdown, I've had to change my setup a little bit. It's not exactly ideal. But yeah, there's 3 little buttons there in that rose shape, which match the one with the heart shape there. And they've also included 2 extra buttons with the tag, so if you were worried about losing any buttons, you've got some spares. And then down the body, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you have that lace bit down the front. That transition between the front panel and the back panel is pretty straightforward. It's just as is. And then at the back, so the lace bits from the back, they end towards the sleeve, and then the rest of it is just plain back down to the bottom, and the bottom seam is pretty standard along the back. And along the front, they've sort of sewn it so that there's no obvious seam. It kind of just blends into that sort of distressed kind of fabric pattern from the front. Moving on, let's look at the skirt, and this has come in a Pion Pion bag, and pretty much all of Punk Rave Australia's Lolita items have that Pion Pion. It's sort of like a sub-brand of Punk Rave, and yeah, they've got these cute little bunnies and things. Ooh, new clothes smell. All right, wow. Where to start with this one? So this one's quite different to the top in terms of fabric. Some of this fabric is a little bit scratchier, so I would not wear it the way the model wore it, just over like some undies, because I mean, for one thing, like, I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to be showing my undies to the world. But yeah, I can be a little bit more sensitive to harsh fabric. So I think for me, this is more of an overskirt, like you would wear basic skirt underneath and then wear this over the top for the extra decoration. And the reason I say that is because the mesh, like, it's that thick mesh, and I think that's to give it the shape. But there's not really a lining in this, unlike some of the other Punk Rave Australia skirts and things where you've had mesh. Usually they put a sort of lining underneath, but I think this is really designed to be more of a skirt on top of a skirt. So yeah, they haven't got that in this case. I will say it's not too bad considering what it is. If you're less sensitive to those stiff fabrics and all that, I think it'll actually be all right for you, because yeah, as I run my finger along, there's not really any like scratchy bits. It's just that the fabric type is one that I'm a little bit less keen on having on my skin. The detail though is incredible. So there's this sort of like, not exactly fishnet, but it's that kind of style. And then they've overlaid it onto some mesh underneath. You kind of see how that can separate there? Yeah, so that gives you an idea of the layering. That mesh under there is sewn under and into this frilly bit. Now the frilly bits are a really nice fabric. That's more me. They're very soft. And you can see you've got the 2 different layers of it. And then similarly, once you get down to here, we've got the 2 layers at the bottom sewn into the end of the net. Coming back to the top though, so here's the waistband. And There's not a huge amount of stretch, so you will want to make sure that you've got your, I guess, waist and hip size right according to those size charts. But it does stretch if you give a decent pull, so within those ranges, I think it should be alright. As for details, here's a closer look at that buckle, and yeah, it's trying to mimic a belt. I mean, obviously there's no belt there, but that's the vibe that it's got, and it's on this sort of ribbon thing with these two little studs there. Around that you can see the patterning they've put into the waistband, which is cute, and these little bits, the frilly bits at the top and the bottom. And then we come to my favorite bit. So you've got these straps which come all the way down and they've got little eyelets all the way through. And this fabric, it's a pretty decent strap, so you're not gonna worry about them coming loose anytime soon or damaging the fabric through wear and tear. And then of course we have the black chains which are connected all the way through. So obviously you've got some connected to the strap, but then you have these ones where there's like this one chain that comes down and then it sort of passes through. These bits are connected, you know, along the bits there, and then it comes back around to the next strap and it sort of repeats as it goes around. So that's the skirt, and yeah, I think when I try it on, I am going to put a black skirt underneath it. I'm not sure if I have one the right length, but I'll see what I can do and get as close as possible. Oh, and before I forget, if you haven't seen the Pyon Pyon tag, here's what it looks like. It's a little bit different to the Punk Rave one. They've really focused on the cuteness. Yeah, so even with the fabric being a little bit scratchy there, I really like this design. I think it's really cool, and I really like that cute plus punk kind of vibe. It's very me. Next up, let's have a look at the gloves. Oh my gosh, even this had the tissue paper and silica gel in it, even though it's so tiny. Alright, so here they are. Which one do we look at first? Oh my god, they're so adorable. So I guess I'll show you the one without the ring first. So I guess the first thing to note is all the different layers of fabric in here. So on the inside, there's this flowery fabric, and then we've got some thin mesh, and that's got all these little beads, which are a bit hard for me to focus on. But yeah, there's a lot of them all the way around that thin mesh. And then we've got some more lace over the top, and then there's this sort of lace ribbon that goes across, and then it repeats on the other side, but with slightly different lengths. Those layers then come around to these two seams there, and that's where this one strip of that same inside lacy fabric appears. And the purpose of that, it's for the sizing. So if you see back here, we've got these ribbons, and that's how you close the glove. But if you've got bigger hands, you can loosen that up. And then there's a huge amount of fabric there for you to expand it pretty much as large as you need it. And then I don't know how easy it is to see, but that fabric sits behind those ribbons. So you're not going to have any gaps where just your skin is showing. So yeah, it really is a sort of one size fits all. And this ribbon is really cute. It's so thin. Oh my god. And then yeah, so here's that decoration that's sewn on in the middle there. I like that it's a white on black. It gives you that contrast, and then it has that brownie color, which will help with the steampunk vibes. Now, of course, on the other side, the overall design is basically the same, but you do have this difference of the decoration that connects to the ring. Now, if you have a look at the ring first, so that's got the same kind of vibe here. We've got the white pearl surrounded by the brown, but of course it's in a star shape. With the ring portion, it's a bit hard to show you, but you can see that this is adjustable. So I am going to have to open that up because I don't think my finger's that small. But yeah, it looks like you could just, oh, and I can do it with my hands. So that's quite easy. And you can change the shape to suit your finger. So yeah, that's gonna fit a lot of different people. And then we come up to the main decoration on there, and so we've got a darker stone in the middle with the two white pearls and this much more elaborate thing going on. But what you might be interested to know is the way it connects to the glove is actually through this brooch, this sort of pin thing. So if you don't like the idea of wearing a ring on this and you don't like this decoration, you can take it off. I gotta say, I'm someone who doesn't wear a lot of rings, mainly because like when you go and wash your hands and you have to take them off, otherwise it feels really gross and all that. But you know, because it's gloves, you're gonna have to take the whole glove off to wash your hands anyway, so the ring's probably not gonna annoy me as much. I might be more inclined to wear the ring with it. Another thing this setup allows you to do is, because it is that brooch pin kind of style, if you don't want on the gloves, it gives you an opportunity to reuse it and put it onto some other outfit of yours as a decoration. Now, maybe it's a bit weird having the ring there, but you could easily take that ring off. You just open up all the little metal bits and, you know, have it. You could even have the ring stand alone, and then you could have the brooch. You could keep these bits dangling from it, and you could put it on, you know, another one of your steampunk outfits. You could actually use some customizability, and you guys know I love anything that can be customized. And just one more thing before I stop talking about this little decoration. As you can see, the chains are slightly different lengths, and I think that's interesting. I think that is done so that you actually do get a bit of that flowy look instead of them all being really tight. You've got one that's fairly tight to get the size, I guess, maybe, and then you've got the others that are more about that dangly kind of look. So that's really clever, I think. And finally, let's get on to that necktie. All right, interesting. So I've never worn one of these before. Usually if I have something around my neck, it'll be those big pointy spikes. So yeah, this is very different for me. Now the main question I had from looking at it on the website was whether this was actually black, and it's very hard to show you in this lighting, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's actually a fair bit darker than what the website made it look like. It made it look like it was more of that sort of dark brown, but in this lighting, for the most part, it looks black. But when you get up close, I wish I could show you properly, but so I think the flat fabric underneath the lacing is black, but there is a slight brown tinge in this lacing here. It's perhaps a little bit easier to detect when I put my hand underneath it, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to have much success showing you on camera. It's such a subtle difference. Well, so the way that the tie is constructed, so you can see there's this main panel here, and then it goes into this sort of ruffled bit at the bottom, and then this seam up here that connects to the middle set of ruffles, and each ruffle has that plain ruffle fabric with that slightly brown colored mesh over the top. So you can see 1, 2, and 3. And then of course they come up to the collar, which is definitely brown, you can see that, and that sort of brown and gold steampunk vibe, and these 2 little studs, and oh my god, how elaborate is that little clasp there. Do you call it a clasp or a buckle? I don't know. It's, I guess because it's decorative, I'm not really sure what to call it, but yeah, it's cute. It does have a little bit of wiggle there. And so at the top with this top trimming, so actually it is 2 layers, and it has that same pattern of the plain ruffle and then that sort of that mesh ruffle there. So it's a double layer at the top here, which gives a little bit extra on top. Now at the back we've got that punk rave button, and there are 2 adjustment settings. So there's less adjusting that you can do with this, but I guess most people's necks are fairly similar. We'll see which one fits me. And this is what the inside looks like, if you're curious. It's pretty much the same as the outside, but on the outside it has this, it's got a little bit of a raised edge, whereas in here they've made it as smooth as possible for your comfort. Now there are these metal bits, but they feel pretty smooth as well, and they're probably not going to contact your skin with this particular outfit anyway, because I think that top has enough of a collar. I don't think I have any like metal allergies, and I'm not really sure what that's made of, but I did have issues with like one of my really old spiked collars that I probably wore a little bit too much, so maybe that was my own fault. But yeah, so that's the collar. Now with the gloves and the necktie, these 2 different accessories, I've been told by Punk Rave Australia that the best way to clean these is actually to hand wash them. I mean, you probably won't need to wash them that often anyway, but just something that's worth knowing. I was also asked to check the little pearls and give my opinion on how steady they feel, and yeah, I can detect no sign that any of these are going to come off. I have been advised that if you do have any issues with them, you can use a strong craft glue to put them back on, but I can detect no issues. They seem really strongly in there. So yeah, I guess that's just one of those just in case things, like, you know, they want to make sure that you have a good experience. So yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with them. They're really nicely put in there. So those are my first impressions of all these items. I guess the next thing to do is to try them all on. All right, so this is how the outfit looks on me. I'm gonna put my measurements in one corner, and I'll put the measurements for the top and the skirt in the other corner, and let's do a twirl. So now that you've seen how it looks on me, let's go through the items one by one and have a talk about them. So we'll start with the top, and first thing we'll talk about is size. Now I got the extra small to small size, and as you can see it fits me pretty nicely, but I will say it is a tight fitting top, so if you're on the borderline between 2 sizes, I would be inclined to go 1 size up. Another thing to note is that as far as tops go, it's a little bit on the short side, like not too short, but it does sort of influence you to go for something like waist high in terms of where you're wearing a skirt or pants or whatever else. I'm someone who tends to wear like longer t-shirts and have my pants just a little bit further down, so if you're not used to wearing things a little bit high up, that might be something to think about. But yeah, overall the size is really nice, and it was really easy to put on. So when I'm reaching back there to put all the buttons together, they're really easy to feel, and also like there's no restriction on your movement. You can do all the things that you need to do, and it's really easy to move in, which is really nice. The fabric, as we were expecting, was also really nice. I can feel nothing really annoying there. There is the tag on the side, which I'll have to cut out at some point, but for now, just put it on. And yeah, it feels really nice. And then also, if you remember, some of the fabric was kind of see-through. I was a little bit worried that I have to wear like a bra or a singlet top underneath, but I actually found, looking in the mirror, there's no issues there. So yeah, that's really nice for me. That's really convenient. that, yeah, it looks nice, but it doesn't show too much, if you get what I mean. So overall, I'm really happy with the top. I would be curious to see how the next size up would fit on me, but maybe that would be going a little bit too far. So it's a little bit on the tight end for me, but it means it's like body conforming rather than too small. Keep in mind that with most of Punk Rave Australia's stuff, I am a small size when they're individual sizes, and this is an extra small to small garment. So if you're in the extra small size, this will fit you absolutely perfectly. Next up, let's talk about the skirt, and this was also an extra small to small size. But I would say potentially think about going up a size. Once again, I'm usually a small size for things on my lower body, and you know, maybe if you're extra small you might be okay with this, but I found putting it on, I couldn't actually pull it up over my hips. I had to go over my body, I had to bring it over my body, and so it's just like I'm small up top and I was able to sort of wiggle in and pull it down. But if you're any bigger than me, you're not going to fit into the extra small to small size. And I think in general, because that elastic is pretty tight, you know, I think you would be safe to go up a size. Again, if you're extra small, maybe you don't need to do this, but it was pretty tight and it does hug your body a lot, and so I guess that gives me a little bit of shape. And it also forced me to wear it higher than I would normally wear skirts, which I think works really well with the design of it, but it was a little bit difficult to get on, and I thought maybe it could have done with a zipper or a slightly looser elastic, just because, yeah, I could not pull it up over my hips and I was a little bit worried I was going to tear something. So I went one arm, two arm, pull it down, and that's how that worked out. I'm not sure if this was an intentional thing, like technically it does still fit me, it's just like the way that you put it on is not how you would expect. So when you were measuring yourself for this skirt, I would take into account your upper body size, and if you looked at my size chart, you can get an idea of what my size is. If you're any bigger than me, I would not get the skirt in this size. I would go one size up so that you don't have to worry about that. Once I got it on though, it actually does fit really nice. As I said, it does force me to wear it a little bit higher. I can push it down and maybe over time it will stretch out a bit more. But I think in terms of the look, you know, the way it's supposed to look and that Lolita look and that wide, you know, the way it sits, la-da! I think it has to be worn a little bit higher anyway. So yeah, my waist measurement was pretty accurate for it. It's just the hips that it couldn't quite get over. Now that I've had it on for a while, that hug in the middle is actually quite nice. It's quite comfortable. So it's not too tight. It's not like really sucking me in heaps that I feel uncomfortable. It's like a nice kind of a hug. As for the fabric, so I did initially try it without wearing a skirt underneath, and it wasn't too bad, but for me, I just thought, yeah, no, I'm going to be uncomfortable if I'm, you know, sitting around, walking around with that. So I put the extra skirt on underneath. So none of the skirt itself is contacting my skin. So I can't really tell you much more than that, but now that I've put the underskirt on, I think it looks really good and it also feels fine because it's not touching me. So yeah, I definitely think personally that the way I'm going to wear this is I'll have a skirt underneath, and so if you can find just a plain skirt that's about the right length, and then put this one over the top, I think it's a really good way to sort of jazz something up. Next up, the gloves. So they're pretty cute, but I think for me, I might be a little bit small. I'm a little bit skinny around the wrists, and so I did have a lot of trouble trying to get them to stay there. I've got them about as tight as I can manage, but if you pull them too tight, it tends to squeeze that together instead of squeezing it more that way. Like I've sort of maxed out the amount of tightness that you can get. And as you can see, instead of being a glove, like it's supposed to be more up this way, instead of being a glove, it has a tendency to slip down because my arms are just that skinny. So I think if you're bigger than me, that extension that you're going to get is going to work really nicely and you'll get a nice tight kind of a fit. But for me, it was just a little bit small, and I may at some point go back and like put an elastic or something in there so that it fits me a little bit better and maybe stays around the wrist. Or if I decide that I want to keep it as an arm thing. I think that looks a bit strange though. So yeah, I might have to modify it a little bit just to get it to stay. One size fits all, you know, you always have to sort of figure out the adjustment. See, that I think looks better. So if I can get some elastic in there, shouldn't be too hard. The roping actually finishes about there, and then you've got this extra stuff. Yeah, we'll see how I go with that, but I think they are really cute. Another thing, I think this might be a similar problem because I am so skinny and I can't, you know, get it tight enough to actually stay there. Because this brooch is a little bit heavy, it has a tendency, because I tend to be doing things like this, it has a tendency to slip that way. So that's something to notice. But again, if your wrists are wider than mine, I think that's going to work fine because you will be able to tighten this to a point where it's going to work really nicely for you. On the topic of tightening though, it's a little bit tricky to do them yourself just because of like you know, the positioning when you've got two hands and you're trying to, you know, deal with all these. I struggled a little bit. I was almost going to ask Mum to help me out, but no, I got it in the end. Just, yeah, if you're not great with the coordination, that could be a challenge, and you might want to have a friend when you're trying to put them on, which does raise some issues if you're going to the bathroom by yourself and, you know, you want to take them off to wash your hands, or like, you know, just move them back to wash your hands and pull them back up. Maybe you could do that. Just I noticed if I tighten them, I can't really pull them off that way. So it depends on what the shape of your arm is like. You might be able to pull it back like me for when you're washing your hands. But if you have to pull them off that way, then opening them and then tightening them again, a little bit tricky if you're on your own, so that's another thing to note. The easiest thing in terms of size for me was definitely this ring, because that, like, it's the metal is soft enough that you can do it by hand, but once you put it together, it doesn't move until you intentionally want to move it, so it's not just going to slip off. So yeah, it looks really cool. Other than that, I think the fabric is actually really nice. Like, I don't see any issues when I'm wearing them. They feel really good. So yeah, I actually really like the way that they look. Like, they fit the whole Lolita steampunky kind of goth vibe really nicely. It's just, for me personally, with my size, I might have to do some modifications just to get them to fit a little bit better, so that I'm not constantly trying to adjust them when I'm out and about. So in the end, I did end up asking Mum to help me out with the gloves for taking photos, and what she did is she got that excess ribbon and tied it all the way around my wrist, which worked really nicely to keep it in place for me. And so yeah, if I can modify it, then I think it'll work really well. Now, in practical terms, if you're out and about, lacing it up this way is a little bit difficult, so you're still going to have that trouble if you're going to the bathroom, but it is a solution, particularly if you're doing photo shoot type stuff. So yeah, that's a tip. And I'll just show you the other side quickly, the way that she's done that. So yeah, not really something that you can easily do yourself, but that's one way to solve the problem of the gloves, and they stayed on pretty nicely. So yeah, if I modify these, I think they'll work out really well. Just to quickly show you how you might do things if you need to wash your hands and can't take them off. So like, you know, depending on exactly where you've tightened it, you might be able to fold it back a bit like that. It is still going to be awkward trying to wash your hands, but yeah, that's possibly a solution if you're out and about and you don't have time to tighten everything up properly again. The last thing to talk about today is the necktie. Now this one's pretty straightforward because there's not a whole lot to it. You just put the button on and you're done. And so there's two sizes, remember, on this one, and I'm actually on the tightest size, and I have plenty of room in there. So you don't need to worry about it being too tight. It's actually got lots of room for me there, and if you open it up to the next button, you'll have even more room. So I think most people will have absolutely no problems with this. Now you might be wondering, oh, you're on the smallest size, but you have all that extra space. Is it too loose? And I would say actually no, because the way it's designed, it actually sits really nicely. Like you can see there, it's not too loose. I think it's designed to be like that. And I actually prefer that. I don't really like the tight choking kind of feeling. And it makes me feel a lot more like I'm going to wear this more than I expected, because I've never had something like this. I guess that idea of the choking feeling maybe put me off. But now that I've tried it and had this experience, I'm like, yeah, I could actually wear this. Another thing that's good about it being a little bit loose is, you remember underneath we've got the shirt and it had that little heart shape with the button on top. And I was a little bit worried that if this was going to be too tight, that it might pull that against my throat and feel uncomfortable. But no, it's got plenty of space, and it also sits really nicely. So I've got like two collars. I've got the shirt collar and then the steampunk collar, and they just sort of complement each other really well. Like you've got these two layers and you don't notice them at all. I guess I'll show you quickly what the shirt looks like underneath without that. Right, so you can see there's space under here as well, no problems there. And then yeah, you just put the collar over the top of it. And I have to say, when I put the collar on, I was like, wow, this makes it. Because the shirt on its own, like, it's a nice shirt, but it's a little bit plain. There's not a whole lot going on. As far as things are going, it's a little bit more on the boring side, if I've got to be honest. But when I put the collar on, it just made that extra bit of detail that I was like, wow, that's it. This is how it is. This is how it's meant to be. So I think anytime I wear this shirt, there's a good chance I'm going to be wearing this as well, because yeah, it just made such a difference. I don't know if you saw the difference when I took it off and then put it back on. To me, this collar thing, it's amazing. I love it. And yeah, bonus points for being really comfortable. So that's the outfit and all the individual items in a bit more detail. In terms of expectation versus reality, I think the main thing that you want to pay attention to is the size, because they do run a little bit small this time. Now the shirt fits completely fine, but if you are on the edge of one of the measurements, you may want to consider going up buy one. It still fits really nicely, but it is a little bit on that tight side. You don't lose any movement, but if you are into that looser sizing, yeah, you may want to consider that. If you're on the lower end though, I don't think you'll have anything to worry about. And then of course the skirt, as I mentioned, it was a little bit tricky to get on. I had to put it on over the top of my body. So I would think for most people you might want to go up one size on it. Pyeon is still punk rave and they do use the same sizing things, but I think I mean, maybe it's intentional that you're supposed to put it on over the top, but in that case, you do need to consider your upper body measurements, even though it's a lower body garment. You might be able to get away with it if you're on the lower end of the sizing because it does cover two sizes. This is an extra small to small, and I'm usually a small, so if you're an extra small, maybe you'd be okay. But yeah, I think it does run a little bit on the small size. For that extra comfort, you may want to go up one. Just a quick note, so taking the skirt off was a little bit of a challenge too because it had to go over my head and it is quite tight. So the mistake that I made is I kept the top on while I was trying to take the skirt off, and I think you should take the top off first because the skirt caught on some of these little fibers, and so some of them have come a little bit loose, so it is a little bit fragile. Just be careful of that. But, you know, because it's a distressed look, that's not too much of a concern. You know, you actually want some of that, but maybe not too much. So yeah, just be careful with that, guys. Now with the gloves, it's kind of the opposite issue for me. I'm the one who's a little bit small, but they are really pretty, so I want to find a way to get them to work a little bit better for me. I think it'll be worth doing. But I know I am someone with small wrists, so I think for the vast majority of you guys watching, this would be the right size for you. Unsurprisingly, I think the winner for me today is the necktie, and I'm actually curious to see how it goes with some of my other shirts that I've got, because I do have a couple that would fit in that sort of steampunk vibe, and then maybe just to jazz things up, I'm curious to see how it goes with other things. So that's something I'm gonna have a go at, and I'm just like, it was so easy to put on and made such a huge impact in just one go. Not something I would have expected. It's just not something I ever thought about before. So yeah, this is the surprising highlight for me today. And then finally, as an outfit, I'm really happy with the way this looks. I mean, we saw the model before with the white skirt and white gloves, and like, it's an interesting, but I'm more of that sort of dark gothic kind of, that's my vibe. I prefer to go darker, and I'm really pleased to say that with the all black, it works really nicely, and yeah, I'm really happy with the overall outfit vibe. So yeah, all up, I think this is a really cool outfit, and I can't wait till lockdown ends and I can go out. There are a few things I'm gonna have to troubleshoot, mainly in the gloves, but with lockdown going on for quite a while, I've got plenty of time to figure that out, don't I? So this is my steampunk gothic Lolita style from Punk Rave Australia. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now if you'd like to buy any of the items I've shown you today from the Punk Rave Australia website, they're doing an automatic 20% discount, so you put it into your cart and then at checkout it's 20% off. You don't need to put any coupon codes in, it'll just do it by itself. And it's also worth knowing you don't need to buy the whole set for that discount to apply. You can buy any single item from it and they'll each get a 20% discount, which I think is really handy. So that's all for today, and as usual I'd like to thank Punk Rave Australia for sending all these to me. But bonus, all of this happened around my birthday, so we were talking in early August and, you know, deciding what we were going to do in reviews and what I was interested in, and then they sent it to me, and the first package arrived the day before my birthday, and it's just sort of cheered me up because lockdown hasn't impacted me that much because I'm a bit of a homebody, but you know, sometimes you do want to go out and it does get a little bit boring, and then all of a sudden Punk Rave Australia said, hey, let's do this, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, on my birthday too. It's like really cheered me up, and yeah, it's so much fun, and I can't wait to show you what we've got planned for the next set of reviews. In any case, if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, subscribe to our channels. There's the Punk Rave Australia channel, and then there's also my personal channel. Now the Punk Rave Australia channel is just reviews of their products, whereas my channel is a bit more chaotic, so approach with caution. If you know anyone who'd be into this style, please do share them a link, and leave us a comment if you have any feedback. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you'll join us next time when we look at a more mysterious gothic vampire kind of outfit. See you later, guys. Well,